Yes, I am in a position to answer that question now, and I welcome the opportunity to do so. I have a statement. It's very clear. It is quite technical, but I have no difficulty with it being reproduced. My legal advisors are Michael O'Higgins, SC, instructed by Beauchamp's solicitors, and Avitan Coronel, solicitors, Haifa, Israel. I have, on a number of occasions since my nomination as a presidential candidate, been asked by sections of the media to disclose all letters written by me in support of Ezra Nawi. His crime was committed in the early 1990s. A complaint was not made until some years later. Ezra Nawi made admissions when interviewed by the police and pleaded guilty. He was ultimately sentenced to 3 months' imprisonment after a trial in 1997. The case was a complex one. I wrote a letter to the appeal court, which ultimately determined his case. This letter has already been published. I wrote a number of other letters to lawyers who acted on his behalf, which mainly dealt with issues arising in the case. I included reference to my own experience in the Irish courts and gave advice and made suggestions that I thought might be helpful in the running of the case. I have taken advice from an Israeli legal firm, Avitan Coronel Solicitors, who have indicated that under Israeli law, nothing may be published about proceedings in a closed trial without the approval of the court. Their advice is that any attempt to publish documents exchanged between a lawyer and client or from a person on behalf of a client, where that person is acting on behalf of the client, or where the correspondence shows the exchange of information with third parties for the purpose of future litigation, is strictly confidential for the benefit of Ezra Nawi in Israeli law, and any attempt to publish will leave me open to recourse in the Israeli courts by any person affected by the publication. Therefore, I am not at liberty to disclose this correspondence. I also wrote a very small number of letters to public representatives, and there was communication with the Israeli embassy. These letters will not be put in the public domain either. I do accept that there is a public interest issue here, but the defendant and other individuals connected to the case also have rights. In the age of the internet and social media, any information published in Ireland would as quickly be available for consumption in Israel. It would be wholly unfair and disproportionate that matters which occurred almost 20 years ago would be rehashed in the public domain here with the inevitable consequences that would follow. The letters were also written under the protection of qualified privilege. I have been advised that any disclosure by me to the world at large would not attract that protection and could expose me to a risk that I would become involved in expensive litigation on a number of different fronts. I have been legally informed that this is a real and not a theoretical risk. In addition, the letters were confidential communications between myself and the relevant parties and were understood to be so. This case involved real people. It changed their lives and left deep scars. I do not want to be the person who rips those scars open again and puts them on public display. In the light of advice received, and together with what I have already said, I will not be making any further comments on this matter.
Senator, you did publish 2 letters, and I think in one of the letters you made reference to the fact that you might vote for president one day. And I think there may have been an implication made by some people that you are holding out the offer to the Israelis that if you were president, if you could receive consideration of this matter at that time, you may be in a position to look the other way. Do you accept that reading could be put into some of the letters you wrote?
My advice is that I'm constrained legally from commenting, and I'm sticking to that advice. I'm very sorry, Senator, if you're disappointed by that, but I have to act on the legal advice that I've received.
Even in relation to the ones you already released from the independent?
I'm acting upon the legal advice that I have been given. I beg your pardon?
Why couldn't you name this piece of information earlier on your campaign? It's overshadowed your campaign. Why couldn't you reveal this earlier?
Well, I've now given you the advice that you sought, and I very much hope that we'll be able to put this very sad episode behind and move on in a campaign with the people of Ireland. And I'm happy to be judged by the people of Ireland. Yes, Daglon.
Sorry, Senator, are you at risk from any of the letters that's been published in the Sunday Independent?
Again, I have to say, I've received legal advice, and I'm sticking exactly and precisely to that. I do apologize if this becomes repetitive, but it is the advice that I've been given. I beg your pardon? Well, again, I have given the advice. That is the advice that I have placed before you. I'm sure you'll find that there is substance to it, and you'll accept what I have said, that there is no further that I can say on this matter. But if there are other questions, I am sticking precisely to the form of words, to the legal advice that I've been given, both in Ireland and in Israel. But thank you for your question. I am sticking to the statement that I've made. I think it is comprehensive, and it is as far as I have been advised to go. And I'm sure that you will accept that.
Senator, you said on the debate last night that you felt you had been at the brunt, the receiving end of negativity. Do you think you are being victimized by the media in this campaign? Or do you think there is a negative spotlight to get to?
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe that legitimate questions can be asked. I've certainly taken quite a lot. We're in this room where, among other writers, I see that beautiful painting of James Joyce, I think by Jacques-Émile Blanche. And undoubtedly, among all of society, there are people whom James Joyce described in Finnegan's Wake as the seekers of the nest of evil within the bosom of a good word. Oh, certainly not. I am a member of the National Union of Journalists, I would have you know. And I delivered copy on time for 3.5 years without fail to what some of you might describe as a tabloid newspaper. It was the Evening Herald, and I was proud to do it.
Senator,
Daglon.
you will be well aware that James Joyce filed a copy to the Irish Times in his day.
Yes, he did, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was a report of the Gordon Bennett race and of the drivers, and it was a rather unusual thing because he wasn't in Ireland when it took place. And I located the photograph in an archive because the opening paragraph of After the Race describes exactly the scene that is depicted in a newspaper photograph.
Senator, can I ask you, in 2 television debates, I noticed you've been located at the margin of the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Were you happy with your treatment in the 2 TV debates?
Yes, I was completely happy because I understand it was done by a draw, by a ballot. So again, I'm sorry if I disappoint you. I have no conspiracy theories at all. And in any case, I know very well over the last 67 years what it's like to be on the margins. I've accommodated myself to it, and I've made sure that my voice is heard, and my voice is heard not just for myself, but for the benefit of others who are on the margins from the margins.
Do you think you have credibility problems that are hurting your campaign? You were too disabled to work as give lectures and tutorials in Trinity, but you claim to be capable of travelling the world and reinvigorating the nation as president.
Yes.
You have legal advice not to release letters, but you've already released letters. You know, the whole page in the Sunday Independent. I wish it had been the Irish Times, like James Joyce, who should have made that choice. But do you have a credibility problem?
Well, I think that's for the people of Ireland to decide. There were two questions. One was about the letters and the other one was?
About your unfitness to lecture.
Oh, yes. Well, can I put it to you this way, Deglon? I mean, my health certainly improved. I mean, my liver, I have no doubt, contained some damage. And it certainly is affected by drinking habits. I avoid whiskey, except on very, very rare occasions, and I find that rather a pity because we in Ireland make some very good whiskies indeed. But I'm able to take now, for example, a glass or two of red wine with a meal. But I would point out that Trinity College never invited me to come back. If they had, I would, of course, have had to consider it. I'm not suggesting they were glad to get rid of me, but they had a replacement, and they would have had to pay twice for the same job. And they then would have been accused of duplication.
Suppose somebody offers you a glass of water in Somalia where President Robinson was.
I can assure you I'm extremely careful now, and when I'm abroad, I drink strictly bottled water.
Senator, just on a matter of clarification.
Yes.
I've got some medical advice since you said that you had hepatitis non-A, non-B, and non-C. I'm told by a doctor that there's also hepatitis D and hepatitis E.
Yes.
Do you happen to know what flavour of hepatitis you have?
Well, I'm afraid I don't, but I sincerely hope that you never get it, David. You've had it. Well, now, if it's appropriate and not a breach of etiquette, may I ask you how you felt with it?
Terrible. I was 12 at the time.
12? Well, nobody expected you to work, at least, did they? But can I just explain that at that time, and that was in 1994, as I understand it, now I'm not a medical person, so please don't trip me up if this is inaccurate. This is, as I understood it at the time and subsequently, the tests only revealed A, B, and C. I don't know how far down the alphabet they've got now, because I have no medical qualifications. Okay, thank you very much.
The issue of the letter to Rose in July is running through the month of September. For some people watching this campaign, they may have questions over your judgment and just how you've dealt with that. What do you say to those people about your judgment about your
I think that my judgment in returning to the race has been justified by the warmth with which I've been received all over Ireland. And I did invite members of the press to accompany me to Limerick, to Ennis, to Galway, to the horse fair at Ballinasloe, and some of them did. And they did find that I was very warmly received, and this did not receive attention. So I think you'll accept that I've given you a full interview. I wish you well. I know that you'll be covering other candidates. I also hope that you will follow my bus, as you will follow the buses and the campaigns of the other candidates. And may I wish all of them well and say that whoever is honoured by the Irish people by being elected 9th Uachtaráin na hÉireann, I have no doubt will have the support, advice, encouragement and prayers of the candidates who did not succeed in attaining that office. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen.